Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head to Nagoya and we're going to have a look at a beer from Kinshachi Beer, and this one should be really interesting. This one is the Nagoya Miso, which basically means it's a red miso beer and it's a lager style, so a red miso lager that comes in at 6%, so this should be a pretty damn interesting beer to try. The only other miso beer I can think of that I've done was one with Toul and Nomada. It was done as a collaboration brew. It was a Miso Imperial Stout or something like that, and I remember it being really nice, but I can't remember for the life of me what the name of it was, but that was a really nice beer, and I'm very much looking forward to trying a miso beer from Japan. This should be a very interesting and quite unusual review. But anyway, as is usual with my beer reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you do want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my future reviews that hopefully I can do from Kinshachi Beer. Very first time I'm trying one of their beers, of course. There's all the usual social media. Make sure you check that out. If you want to see more beer reviews, do subscribe to the channel. And if you're particularly interested in Japanese beer, go into the channel homepage and simply search Japan. The whole channel is based on geography, so you can do that with pretty much any country or any city or any state, and all the videos will pop up. And you can check out Casey and Eric's channel, Sotogami Akihabura, two nice American guys who specialise in reviewing Japanese craft beer. I'm pretty sure they actually have reviewed this beer before, so make sure you have a look at their review of it as well. I'll try and find the link and put that in the description for you below. But anyway, to tell you a little bit about Kinshachi Nagoya Beer. So the name Kinshachi literally translates into English as golden killer whale or golden orca if you like. And these guys are from Aichi in Nagoya Prefecture in Japan. The brewery's parent company is Morito Shuzo, and the beer division was established after the law change in 1994, and brewer Yamaguchi joined the company during its infancy in 1996. They say that they endeavour to bring local traditions into their beers, and this is why they have things like miso lager, of course. But Yamaguchi actually thought this was going to be a major struggle when he first joined the company, and to actually uphold this and be able to sell beers like that. But he said that he worked with it quite tirelessly and he persevered with it, and it turned out pretty well actually. This is now what this company is famed for, of course. But Yamaguchi apparently learned his trade during a 6-month program where Suntory came to help the brewery establish, and in 2007 the demand and the workload was so much that they had to bring on an assistant brewer, his name being Sugiyama, and the brewery brew mainly English and German styles of beer since then. They've actually grown quite a little bit and they have their own restaurant and things, which looked pretty nice in the pictures, but this brewery have become quite successful over the last little while, although it is particularly hard to find their beers outside of Nagoya, but they are starting to expand now. I found this one in liquor store Asahiya, of course, here in Osaka, and I think Casey and Eric, they actually bought theirs in Tokyo. They didn't get it from Nagoya Prefecture itself, so they are spreading out a little bit. You can tell the label by the beers by their quite distinctive artwork. I really like the artwork on this one actually, but their beers are fairly highly rated amongst the Japanese craft beer community. So yeah, quite an interesting one. So just to list the other beers that you can get from these guys, you get the Hacho Miso Lager, which uses the same recipe as this one, just a different type of miso. You have this guy, of course, the Akai Miso Lager, the Platinum Yale, the India Pale Ale, the Red Label, which is a German style alt beer, the Blue Label, which is a Pils, and also the Black, or the Schwarzbier I think they call it in Japanese. So yeah, it should be a really quite interesting beer for us to review this one. I'll just let you have a little look at the artwork before we open this one up, and you can see there, they've got the little cartoon golden orcas on this one. It's actually quite a cool thing. They're almost a little bit dragon-like, so you've got a kind of half dragon, half orca on this. There's the pull-off bottle cap on this one. You can see one of the golden whales on there, and I'll try and keep the bottle cap on this too. But it looks very nice. You can see it says Nagoya Ju, which is the castle, I think. And yeah, it's got a few of the other things. Akamiso, Miso no Kumi Udon. I think it's just talking about local foods, because they say that these beers are specifically designed to actually be paired with local foods. On the back it just tells you all the stuff about the beer, but that's in kanji, which of course I can't understand. The hiragana and the katakana are fine, but the kanji is pretty crazy actually. So yeah, let's get this guy open and we'll get on with the tasting. If I'm reading this correctly, it says it's best before the 20th of August 2016, so it's still in date when I'm reviewing it for you. So let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the tasting. 6% red miso lager, this one. And the miso, incidentally, is sourced from Morita Shuzo, the parent company. The one in the Hacho is sourced from another company actually, the Miso that they use. So yeah, quite an interesting little brewery this one. If you can do things like Miso lagers, of course you are going to get some quite interesting comments from beer reviewers like me, so very much looking forward to trying this one. So yeah, as you can see, this beer is poured something like a kind of alt beer Dunkel colour, I would say. It's probably fair to call it that. There's a half finger of a beigey tan head on this one. There's a good bit of sediment floating around in this one actually. If I put my fingers behind the glass, you can see the beer isn't really transparent at all. It is pretty opaque in colour, but if I hold it up to the light, it's fair to say it's a really kind of dark, murky, mahogany amber colour. Fair to say it's that sort of thing, but looks kind of exactly what you'd expect from a sort of Miso lager. You could probably mistake this for a Dunkel if you're just looking at it from an aesthetic point, but let's have a look at the aroma and see how we get on with this one. So yeah, that's quite interesting. It's quite bready. You can pick up the caramel notes in this one. You can smell a little bit the sort of herbal spicy thing that you're getting from the Miso. It's got a little bit of a sort of almost seaweedy character that you get from the Miso. I always find that Miso, it just has that little odd kind of seaweed sort of flavour to it. It's making my nose itchy a little bit. But yeah, there's some nice sort of caramel malt going on in there. Quite toasted, I would say. You've got some nutty notes, sort of nutty, weedy thing going on. But there's a little bit of grassiness, I would say. But yeah, sweet caramel, a little toasted, some bread, some nuts. Some red fruit in there as well, the kind of candied figs and red fruity esters. A little bit grassy and floral sort of thing. But it does smell, actually does smell quite nice. It really just smells like a Dunkel lager, to be honest. I was expecting the Miso to be a little bit more prominent, but you do get a little bit of that kind of salty character from the Miso coming out. But yeah, quite an interesting one this. So let's get stuck into this one. This is the Aka Miso Lager from Kinshachi Golden Orca Beer in Nagoya, Kampai. That's quite interesting. I've never really tasted a lager like that. It's really in the aftertaste where you start to get a lot of these flavours coming out. Yeah, it's a big sort of caramelly thing. So, as I was saying with the nose on this one, you've got a sweet kind of caramel malt base, and the Miso just comes out on top of that. That's really unusual. This beer is actually quite salty, particularly in the aftertaste. It's not as salty as like a Gose or something like that. The salt comes out quite differently. It's more like a sort of salted caramel thing that you're getting from this one. Yeah. So yeah, that's really interesting. So some bready character, as I say, is just the backbone of this beer. On top of that, there's almost a biscuity caramel thing, and you've got that salted character, almost the little kind of seaweedy thing going on. But the seaweedy character, the saltiness comes out a little bit more in the aftertaste. But the seaweed thing is quite subtle, I'd say. Yeah, that's really interesting. There's a little bit of grassy and floral character around the edge of the palate. There's maybe a bit of earthiness in the back corner too. I would guess they're using some kind of German hop in here. But that's really interesting. I've never really tasted a lager like this one before. It certainly is quite unusual actually. Yeah, this is something that you need to try for yourself and just see how it turns out, but it's really nice. The sort of dark and caramelly thing, the Miso character is really interesting in it. You have to try this one for yourself, unless you know what red Miso tastes like, of course. So you need to try this one for yourself and just see how you get on. It's a very interesting beer. It's worth trying just for the novelty factor. Even it is a good beer as well, but for the novelty factor you really need to seek this one out for yourself. It would be interesting to compare this one to the Hacho, miso lager that they do as well. But I mean, this is a good beer. I like these kind of beers with the big dark strong flavours of it. The salted caramel thing works quite well, but I quite like these beers with a big kind of salted caramel thing that goes on, and then this one is really quite good, and you know, the artwork makes you think this will be quite a cool beer. You try it and it lives up to that, so that's another plus point about this beer. But yeah, my main message with this one, it's very unique, so try it yourself. So in terms of the mouthfeel, this one, I'd say it's mid-bodied. It's got a little bit of oily character to it, and as you would guess, it's mainly a malt-focused beer. You've got some sweet caramel, a little toasted like I said. You get a little bit of the salty character from the miso in this one. The miso adds a really interesting dimension to the beer that you won't really come across within a lager style. This is the first miso lager beer that I've come across. I've had miso in the Imperial Stout that I talked about from Toul and Nomada, and it worked really nicely, but this is the first kind of lager sort of Dunkel style beer that I've tried, and it works pretty damn well in this one as well, actually, I have to say. So give it a go for yourself and see what you think. There is maybe a teeny bit of fruity character from this one, but very minimal. You can just detect that a little bit behind the front curve of the tongue, but really there's a little bit of dryness from the hops, but mainly a malt forward beer, this one. But it works very well, and the flavours are all there, so give it a go for yourself and see what you think. This is a pretty damn good beer in my opinion. So yeah, this one has been the Aichi Miso Lager from Kinshachi Nagoya Beer. So I would say give this one a go yourself. It's really unusual, but if you like things like Dunkel beers, if you like kind of dark, kind of big caramelly stouts, if you enjoy a big sweet kind of caramelly beer, I'm pretty much sure that you'll enjoy this one. It's very unique, and you have to give it a go for yourself simply for the novelty factor, and it certainly won't disappoint if you do manage to find it. So yeah, hopefully I can try the Hacho Miso Lager that they do at some point. That would be really interesting to try, because it's the same recipe, just a different sort of miso. That would be really cool to try, but hopefully I can return to this brewery in the fairly near future and try some of their other beers. So once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Go and check out my social media. Make sure you check out Casey and Eric's channel as well. Let me know in the comments section below your own thoughts on this beer and the brewery itself. Always interesting to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and if you're watching in Japan, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. Until the next time, Slanja just now, and I will catch you soon. Make sure you go and check out Kinshachi Aichi Miso Lager. Really quite an interesting beer. Kampai.